Now, time for the Tesla and Palantir weekly update. So, we're going to start with Tesla here, and I'm going to focus mostly on the log scale chart because the log scale fibs have been dictating the show here. And 242.44 was the target for the week to close above that 618. And sure enough, it did close the week above it and a nice wick through. So, that's two weekly candle closes above it now. This is, by definition, in my opinion, is a breakout and back test and building a base on top of this new Fibonacci level to go higher. So we can put on everything else too, if that matters at all. Not too much, but it does indicate some support was also pretty close to being hit. The 236.22 was really close to being hit. It did get down to 237.81. Not quite, but that just shows the bullishness of the nature of Tesla. So there was some uncertainty down there, but I was kind of confident that 242.44 was going to hold as a support because of this big weekly candle before that. And not only that, the monthly candle close also closed above an important level. And I'm going to go show you that on the linear scale chart right here. Go to the monthly chart. What do we see here? Well, we saw that the monthly candle close last month of September did in fact close above that 50% linear scale fib at 258.15. So this gave me confidence that weekly candles will continue to hold support, and that just proved to me on the log scale chart. So it can do whatever it wants during this month, right? It can go all the way down, it can go up, it can do whatever, but I still think there's a really strong possibility of closing well above this 258.15 for the rest of the month. And there's 27 days left until that month. It is a brand new month, right? So lots of volatility can occur, and it already has. And support has been holding week over week. So paying attention to how monthly candles close is very important, and the way it did close is telling us that most likely Tesla does want to continue its journey upwards towards the 295, towards the 320s and above, right? Just one level at a time. And so far, all we got to do is see this monthly candle finish on top of that 50% level. And if that happens, then I think it's clear skies ahead. So now let's go check out some more charts here. And now I'm going to show you the linear scale GAN here and show you what's really happening, that it's still just kind of floating in the middle of a zone here. And it's just not didn't even get to resistance up top, didn't even go back down to test that angle of support in the low 230s. And that just shows even more bullishness in my opinion because it's just still maintaining, and it's still just an inside candle from the previous week, right? It did not have any of the body of the candle go below or above, so it's an inside candle. So we might see another kind of candle like that, but I believe the possibility next week is it could go higher or it could go lower, right? Because what's next week? Well, that's the 1010 robotaxi event. So that's going to be some volatility there. There could be some volatility down, but there could be volatility up. But the trend is no matter what, dips are your friend. And if it does go down, then that could be the opportunity to accumulate more. But the way the charts closed today, this week, and last month, it does kind of indicate that possibly it wants to go test the upper resistance of this arc, maybe around 274, 275, and maybe even try to break it. So that's going to be my focus mainly for next week. I kind of want to see if these 270 zones can get broken because of maybe some excitement or whatnot. And if that can get broken, then I can see a lot more upside ahead. And next we have Palantir, and Palantir also had a fabulous weekly candle close. It was up 8.6% for the week. And we saw what really happened. The 786 has been holding week after week after week. It did not let anybody back in. And anybody that took profits immediately regretted it because it just kept on going higher. And that's what I said last week. Once levels really break the 786, they tend to go towards all-time highs and beyond. So there's really no point of taking profits, whether it went back down $3 or not. It was just, there was too much risk because I want to be in this. I want to see the gains. So that means if it's going above the 786, then most likely it's going to make new all-time highs. So this is looking like the case now, and this could be a resistance level next week, maybe 40.55, maybe it could wick above to the 41s. So that's going to be an important level to watch going into next week, because if it does get rejected there, then we'll have to watch what the candles do, and maybe it might want to retest levels then. But the trend has been it's not letting anybody back in, and I think we could see all-time highs sooner than later, and that's $45 or beyond. So this is very exciting to see. So this is the number to watch next week, 40.55. And now we'll go to the log scale chart here for Palantir. We'll pull this up. I do have the Ichimoku on the SMAs here. We don't really need that because it's really 100% bullish, and even the conversion line's now at $30, well below it, right? So we don't really need that. We'll take that off, and what we will put on though is the Bollinger Bands, and we're going to see how it is kind of starting to press up against this Bollinger Band, and it's making the upward Bollinger Band expand. And it still hasn't really made the bottom one expand quite yet. But I think if it keeps on pressuring the top, then both will start to expand more and more and more. And then I think price can eventually get above my arc here and continue higher. So that level of the arc next week sits around the same price as that Fibonacci, like 40.50, right? 40.58, 40.55, like around that zone. So there is no coincidence with that. That is exactly the same resistance as that Fibonacci. So that means we're really going to focus on that number, right? And we'll see if it can actually close a week above it. And if it can, then that'll be fabulous for continuation, because not only is it above that 886 Fibonacci, but it will also be above this arc here. And if it's above that arc, then it can flip it to a support. Then it'll have the opportunity to go much higher into the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and eventually the hundreds above. So this is basically, in my opinion, one of the last major resistance zones before the all-time high over here. And once it's broken, this thing has lots of potential to keep going. So let's pay attention to that 40.55 next week and see how price reacts once it gets there.